Good afternoon. My name is Lynn. Thank you very much for staying. I hope I'm going to make it worth your time. Today I'm going to talk to you about why you need to vote for Proposition 19, which is the to Regulate, Control, and Tax Cannabis Act of 2010. First, we're going to go right into the regulation. I know there is a lot of hyperbole going around about this act, and one of the big trends seems to be fear that we're going to go back to a gold rush time where the only law was what a man or woman could enforce for themselves. And I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. Proposition 19 is very carefully written. It thoroughly controls the use and sale and renders this drug as relatively harmless as almost any other alcoholic beverage. You must be 21 to purchase it or possess it. It must be used only in private residences or in public establishments that are specifically licensed, much like a beer. So you won't see potheads sitting around on the park benches when you go to take your kid to play in the park, because they'll have a place where they're supposed to be. Also, local regulations vary, but you're not allowed to have any more than 1 ounce per person, according to the language of the Act itself. So this limits how much you are allowed to have. These are only a few of the stipulations that will protect you. The writers seriously considered the public ramifications before they introduced this new law. Now let's take a look at some of the benefits. Maybe you're not a stoner. Maybe you have no intention or interest in ever getting high. However, it's not probably much of a surprise to you that the United States is in the middle of a recession, and California herself is in serious budget difficulty. Marijuana is a very good way to help with this. Just think about it. Growing up, how many people talked about wanting to go to Amsterdam when they grew up? Some of it was about the red light district, but the bud was the main draw. Already, people come to Humboldt County and the Emerald Triangle, and legalizing marijuana has the potential to create 50,000 tourism-related jobs, which means a gain of $52 billion just in California across the state, based on the 2006 wine industry numbers for their tourism. This was found in campaignsthatmatter.com in their California Right for Marijuana Tourism article on October 22nd. More than tourism, though, there's a big benefit to be had in the penal system. If these non-criminals are no longer taking up the police attention, they can focus on the real problems in our society. Things like crime rings and child pornography, or whatever happens to be the problem in your neighborhood. Also, without these non-criminals taking up jail space, the real criminals won't bounce quite so fast after serving only a portion of the time from the already minimized sentence that they were able to bargain down because the DA didn't have the time or the resources to give them the attention they deserved. Many people say that this has been addressed in the SB 1499 that Schwarzenegger signed in on September 30th, 2010, but it really doesn't. If you happen to have your less 0.8 of an ounce conveniently packaged for personal use, this becomes a criminal matter because they assume you're ready to distribute. Now is the time for California to legalize marijuana, and Proposition 19 is the appropriate vehicle to make this happen. Its clear, thoughtful language opens up an incredible opportunity while protecting the citizens from any repercussions. Yes is the only vote that makes sense on Proposition 19.
I love you, man. You know that. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, blanket of thank yous to everybody for sticking around. Yeah, I know that this is like a real controversial issue, and I'm going to get right into this, starting with refuting some of our argumentation. First of all, going on to talking about the regulation and how it's a very clearly written law. No, it's not. First of all, we really don't know where a lot of the funding is actually going to pour into once we receive this revenue. So different locals are claiming different, like, we're going to take this and we're going to put it in schools, and some are saying we're going to put it in law enforcement. Like, the truth of the matter is, where is it going? We don't know. You might go take it and spend it on, like, icicles for a freezer. We don't know. You know what I'm saying? For all I know, you're going to go send some more soldiers to Iraq or to Afghanistan, which is something that I clearly don't want, and I definitely didn't want this money going there. So since the law is not that clearly written, that's one reason why you're going to be voting against it today. Going on to let's go to the public intoxication because I think it's fairly funny. Okay, so if I just happen to be standing around and then my friends are smoking weed right there and then we all get ticketed, I'm clearly not publicly intoxicated. But where is your new advanced technology that's going to test me right now to make sure that I wasn't the one smoking? Like, okay, your eyes aren't red. So what? What if I have allergies? Like, I don't understand. How are you going to clearly tell me that I was the one committing this crime just because I was standing here? I mean, you know what? Let's keep it all the way. Like, I have friends that smoke weed, but I'm not always going to take part in that right then. So, like, if I'm standing there and I'm not smoking and then you're accusing me of smoking, like, I'm not going to sit up there and say, oh, okay, I did something that I didn't do. However, there's no real fighting against it. It's going to be my word against yours, but you're an officer of the law, and so you have more credibility than me. So at that point, it becomes a problem. I'm sorry, I have a lot to cover right now. And so as far as the U.S., is the middle of the recession? Okay, this is a very clear point here that I want you guys to pay attention to. Yes, the United States is in the middle of a recession. Yes, California is really being hurt by this. However, if you go over to the 700 building in front of the financial aid office, it says, until California finalizes this budget that's going to be passed, you Cal Grant students, and some of you are sitting in this audience, won't be getting your dough. Now tell me how that doesn't hurt when you got to go back and say, Mom, can I get some money for school? But Mom's not getting her state check because, you know, the DMV is closed and she can't go to work. So at that point, it becomes an issue because everybody's broke, and then there's an increase of crime. So like you have really, the argument here is that it's going to help is not really, because empirically there is no federal drinking limit on the highway. I don't know if any of you know that. However, California says if you don't make it 21, we won't give you any money to build the freeways. So what the government is going ahead and says, okay, well, if you legalize Prop 19, we're going to sue you and we're not going to give you the $5 billion we promised. So if anybody in here can dictate, like, are we still going to get our money if we legalize this? The federal government is not really known for playing when they tell us things like that. So at that point, we're not going to get our money. Like, they're already broke. You think they won't hesitate to snatch $5 billion that they said they were going to give us back? No. And so yeah, so even though some counties, like Alameda County, specifically the city of Oakland, makes already $880,000 per year just from revenue from the cannabis clubs in that city, and they say it's going to go up to like $1.84 billion. Yeah, right. First of all, you don't know it's going to go up that much. Secondly, even at $1.84 billion per year, it takes us, what, at least 3 years to get to the initial $5 billion that the government had promised us. And so thus, unless you're willing to wait 3 years for your Cal Grant, like you're even still be here, like I hope you guys are still here. Like if, you know, if you're still even here at that point, you're not going to get your money. So here's going to be empirically another reason why you're going to not vote here. And yeah, for Humboldt County and Emerald Triangle and for San Francisco, it's going to be like 50,000 tourist-related jobs. Like what, correctional officers? Like are they going to go to jail when they come here because they don't have like the license to actually do this in California? Currently, we already have medicinal marijuana. And so at that point, we have research that's pouring into advances for medicinal marijuana, specifically for multiple sclerosis patients who this helps with their seizures. Now, there's going to be a lack of that because we already know we can go buy Tylenol at the liquor store. So why would on earth would I pour $5 billion into research to see if it's going to cure cancer? Like it already gives rid of headaches. Like great, you know what I'm saying? So at that point, we're not going to have jobs unless you're talking about correctional officers, which is going to result in more people going to jail, specifically because if they're not selling weed, they're going to sell crack. Because being a drug dealer comes with a lifestyle that people aren't going to go 9 to 5 and take a lunch break and have a boss. Like, no, I want to be out here and I want to be loaded and I want to be talking, you know, like mess with my partners on the block. So at that point, you know what I mean, there's going to be more crack circulating, and then when there's more crack circulating, your child pornographer is now going to be on crack, and so he's going to be worse because he's going to be on one trying to get this monkey on his back, and so at that point, you're still not going to be voting because the intent to distribute is still there, and at that point, you'll be voting against Prop 19 today. Thank you.
Somebody hide the coffee.
No more caffeine today.
Okay, so I'd like to take just a moment and address some of her points. First off, thank you very much for my opponent and her wonderful, clear arguments. She had a lot to say, but I'm going to just address a few things. First off, she was talking about the extra revenue going to military spending, and I don't quite understand that because military spending is federal, not state. So the only thing that's going to happen there is that feds might have more money because we're paying them more taxes because we have more money. Again, we come down to, then we come back to her speech about public intoxication. I still maintain that there will be less public smoking because there will be places that people can go to gather where it's legal. So she has the choice to not be standing there with her friends and taking the chance on being arrested with them. She makes the choice to stand there. She makes the choice to take that risk. Again, we come to the money. And I don't understand what her point about the budget passing and everybody not getting their checks and their Cal Grants has anything to do with a new source of income that will help give more money for them to make a budget with. Those 2 points do not seem to equate to me. And then lastly, she was talking about hard drugs being more prevalent. I understand that the weed dealers will not stop dealing drugs. However, they will have fewer customers because people are not going to buy illegally when they can go to the liquor store. There are many, many, many people who smoke marijuana who would never think about touching a hard drug. Therefore, that does not necessarily mean that there will be more customers for the harder drugs. So again, I tell you, Proposition 19 is a no-brainer. You need to vote yes. Thank you for your time.
Boom. Okay, I'm going to have to use that. Okay. We're going to go down. Yeah, okay. All right, so yeah, you know what? She gives a great example that life is all about choices, and that's why I'm telling you today that you need to choose to make the responsible decision and vote against Proposition 19, specifically because we already have areas where people can go smoke at. It's called a cannabis club. And if you have a doctor's note, you can go up in there and you can sit there and chill until they close. And then you can go home or sit in your car and hotbox and then go in the house. It's up to you. You know what I mean? However, life is all about choices, and that's why I'm saying make the right exam, make the right choice instead of saying, oh, we're all hella irresponsible, and so let's just take away the propensity for people to be like getting in trouble because they're not being responsible with their marijuana. Like, why would you do that? Like, okay, first of all, and about federal money not having anything to do with state money, well, yes, it does. Like, okay, I'm quite sure Arizona money has nothing to do with state money until you start suing the state of Arizona because they're looking at you and going, I can't tell if you're white or Mexican, where your papers at? Like, okay, so at that point, there's going to be a problem because that's how federal money and state money are intertwined. And just like I gave you the California's the one that's making the federal government make 21 the drinking age in California. And they're like, we're not even going to give you any more money to build these highways if you don't do that. Yeah, it's a paternalistic thing, but so what? I mean, the state feels the need to protect us. So on this point, it's still happening. The federal government's going, if you guys are stupid enough to want to continue to like make these illegal drugs, this gateway drug, more available to people like liquor store, where I can just hang outside a liquor store and be 12 and be like, will you buy me a 10-sack? Like, okay, hey, at least it's not alcohol. You know what I'm saying? I could be more responsible. Like, that severely decreases the limit of people being responsible, like decreasing the probability of people being responsible. And yeah, people, like, I absolutely have no plans on ever touching a harder drug unless you're talking about Oxycontin, of course, because it's legal. Anyways, but what I'm saying is that with the cocaine, with like drug dealers pushing harder drugs more, is more of a chance for your blunt to turn into a Grimmy. And at that point, now you've been smoking crack, or you've been smoking angel dust laced things, and you don't even know it. And so the propensity is higher. So at that point, when when marijuana loses its rebellious status and people start pushing more for these harder drugs to be out there, the chances that your drugs are going to be laced are going to be even higher. And so at that point, you'll still be voting for the opposition today, even if you just want to say, I still need my federal money because I need some shoes and I need a new backpack and my car need to be fixed and I need brakes. Like all of y'all Cal Grant students in here need that type of stuff. You won't be getting it if you vote yes on 19 today. Thank you.